Hey everybody, it is Christy Miley with Caldwell Banker Shook and Redbird Realty Group, and I wanted to share a couple of buyer tips today. I'm going to just kind of walk you through how, if I personally was searching for a property, that I would approach the showing. I believe this is especially crucial to kind of think about in advance right now because, as I've mentioned before, with the market moving so quickly, it's been wonderful for sellers as long as they market properly and make sure to get the best exposure. But it's been so challenging for buyers. They have to make decisions so quickly and with a lot less options typically. So, in the interest of helping you make faster decisions yet still be fully informed and protected, I thought it might be nice to just kind of think about how I would approach a showing myself. So, I don't want to say that this is how everyone should do showings or what every agent will think is correct. But when I buy property, and I've purchased several, I think 6 or 7 total so far, I this is the method I use. So the very first thing I do is obviously all of the online research. So I look at the property, I look at the tax history, I look at the sales history, the current imagery, the previous imagery. I will even research the previous disclosures that the sellers had provided on previous listings if available. These are things that your agent can help you do, of course, probably not something you would go ahead and proactively do on your own. And then I will look at the mapping aerial online, see if I see any concern. Maybe there is a park right behind it and I for some reason do not like that, or maybe it's the opposite. I'm specifically looking to be close to a park or a different type of landmark, and it happens to be a really easy access to that item that I'm looking for. So overview of the area, and then I would do a drive-by. And the reason I would do a drive-by first before I ever talk to my agent about going inside is, and in this current market, by the way, I would be doing all of this, very, very quickly. So I would see the listing pop up, I would do my online research, I would do my drive-by, and I would be doing it all super promptly. And then I would be immediately as well simultaneously contacting my agent, asking them to work on it as well and check if it's already pending. And so the purpose of the drive-by before I schedule the showing would be, I want time on my own with no one else with me to take a quick look at the neighbors, the exterior of the property, and all of the immediate surrounding area. Because sometimes that's going to be the time when you now know, without ever even having to walk inside, that this is just not going to work for you. And keep in mind, neighbors do change, so it can go either way. They could change and get better if it's something that you're not loving about the immediate neighbors, or it could, of course, change and get worse as well. So after I do that, I would be following up with my agent and making sure that the property is still available, and then I would get in to see it immediately. So I would text my agent and I would say, I've done my research. This is looking good. What do you think? If you agree, let's go see this ASAP. Here are my first 2 or 3 times that I'm available. Does that match up? If they can't get you in on one of your first times, you might want to ask them if they have maybe a partner or someone else that could get you in immediately, again, in the interest of moving promptly to react to our current market. Then once I arrive with my agent, as they are opening the door, if they have any other plan other than this particular method, I would say, do you mind if we do it this way? And then I always look at the exterior of the property in great detail before I go in. I don't want to fall in love with a charming, adorable kitchen like I do. All it takes is like a scalloped edge shelf or something for me, and I'm done. I'm no longer looking at the electrical and things. And so I like to go ahead and kind of get a feel for the condition of the property before I ever start falling in love with kitchens and baths and things like that. So I will look outside, and I'm looking for, are the gutters sufficient size? Are they clean? Are they directing water away from the property? I would be looking at the foundation to see if I see any cracks, any shifting. If I see a grade that is irregular, meaning the ground is lower at the perimeter of the home than on the other parts of the lot, because you're looking to hope that water has been directed away from the property for many years and not the opposite, that it has been directed towards the property and even potentially penetrating the foundation. So after I look at the gutters, the roof, the windows, the foundation, check the siding for any holes because you don't want water behind the siding, of course. I would look at the chimney if there was one. Any of the roof penetrations I could see very well from the, hey, there's my cat. Any roof penetrations that I could see from the ground. So like smokestacks, plumbing stacks, anything coming out of the roof or any venting, I would try to look around there and see if I see any signs of leaking. That's always typically the first place a roof will have an issue. So I'm going to try to keep it moving, but I would be doing a very in-depth condition assessment before I ever walk inside. And you can do these upon drive-by as well. And because these are the things you really can't change. You know, if something's been extremely neglected, that's going to cost a lot of money and potentially be cost prohibitive, meaning it's just not something that you're going to want to change. And then obviously location we can't change. So we're assessing all of that. Then I'm going to look at the lot as a whole. Are there any trees that are leaning over the property, trees that maybe need to be taken down? So large projects like that. Finally, I'm going to probably, eventually go inside. And yes, I let my clients go inside eventually as well. And then I do try, if it's a basement, I go straight to the basement, because that you don't want to fall in love with everything and then go in the basement and see that there's mold or structural issues, rotting, these, termite damage, all of these things that you and your agent can, initially assess together, and then of course also get an inspection. So I go straight to, the crawl space, the attic, all of the hidden areas of a property where typically you might find your larger items of concern. If all of that looks good, I'm going to do an initial walkthrough and just get a layout of the property and try to decide, does that layout work for my family? So if I know for a fact I do not want the bedrooms all close together, for instance, or the opposite, that I do want them close together, I'm going to assess things like that. If I have specific needs, like maybe an exterior entrance that's separate from the other entrances, because I know that I have a little consulting business or something, I have people stop by, I'm going to be looking for all of those things, again, things that are really hard to change. If all of that's still looking good, now we can go to the kitchen and the baths and look more at the finishes, because the finishes can always change, and it's not that expensive, really. I mean, that's a relative term, obviously, but it's a more enjoyable fix as well. And so I believe that tends to be much less of an issue where it would be cost prohibitive. So if you just need to change countertops, lighting, things like that, I don't think you should be extremely worried about it. I actually tell my clients, look for properties that do still need those types of things, because those are the types of things that are very individualized anyway, and it's kind of fun, like changing out lighting and countertops and, maybe put a new toilet in or something like that. Those are not hard to manage. In the basement also, or wherever within the property the electrical panel is located, go ahead and take a look at that as well and chat about if that looks sufficient and up to par. And so that is just kind of a little overview of how to assess a property, and make sure that you assessed it very thoroughly and in an organized fashion, so that when you go back home and you are trying to compare multiple properties together, you also might be more inclined to have your notes in the correct order. So you would have notes on, okay, this is how the exterior looked, this is how the layout felt, these are the major concerns on the mechanicals, like the furnace, AC, roof, and things like that. And so I hope that helps. And when you have a really good agent, of course, they are there with you the whole time and also assessing those and giving you advice on each one. So, and we can always get contractors too. So we will always have an inspection, and we can get contractors to do second opinions as well. So that is my little method of assessing property. So I hope to work with a lot of buyers and sellers this year. And if you need anything at all, just give me a call or a message. It's ChristyMiley.com. Thank you.